Modified Tour invades Western New York. Tonight, it's the Lancaster Motorplex for the New Way Auto Parts 150, where Ronnie Silk will try to extend his championship lead while Justin Bonsignor tries to take that away. Doug Kobe back in the field again tonight, along with local drivers such as Tommy Catalano. He's from this part of New York. Big money Matt Hirschman has been for the best all season long. 2 wins. Looking for another one tonight in front of a packed crowd at the Lancaster Motorplex. 150 laps is coming up next. Good evening, everybody, and welcome inside the Lancaster Motorplex. My name is Joe Koss, alongside Andy Austin for the call of tonight's New Way Auto Parts 150. And what a beautiful day it has been. 70 degrees. Picture-perfect blue skies as we settle into the evening, and packed grandstand here at this racetrack, Andy.
This is what they wait for all year long in Buffalo when there's 5 feet of lake effect snow. They finally get a great August night of racing on a very unique track. This is going to be an amazing 150 laps.
And they're going to fire them up.
That's how you do it.
So the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Modifieds come to life here at the racetrack in Lancaster, New York. And you're out to Mike Myers, a promoter, and the group that's been running this facility. They have put so much effort, resources to pack this racetrack. The pre-race ceremonies that just concluded a few moments ago, they brought out a big stage just like they do for the NASCAR Cup Series. Pyrotechnics and a whole bunch of fanfare for this event. A wonderful rendition of the national anthem just before we came on air. They have certainly gone the extra mile to welcome NASCAR's Whelen Modified Tour.
Absolutely, and as you see it pan out, you can see a packed grandstand for this. The word is out. Lancaster is the place to be tonight. And Joe, a very unique racetrack. There are so many different elements to what people are going to see here over this 150-lap race tonight.
This racetrack, you can see, are sitting there on the front straightaway. You see those 2 strips. That is actually an 1/8-mile drag strip that runs from right to left across your screen. That's that traction compound that they put on, and on top of that, it's concrete. So as you come off the pavement in turn 4, you get that concrete, and it has an odd effect because you've got all that extra grip and you're turning the entire way on the straightaway. This is probably one of the only tracks on the circuit that the teams will tell you, or the drivers will tell you, I have to be good on the straightaway here. It's that tricky and treacherous.
And there are 2 distinct straightaways. You have the compound on the front straightaway, and then on the back stretch, a completely different setup too. But the transition to come from the front straightaway into turn 1, we've seen that in the last time the Whelen Modified Tour was at Lancaster in 2021. A lot of green flag racing to start, but as the temperatures cooled down, things got a little clammy in turn number 1 with multiple caution flags.
Yeah, that was the trend of the last time that we raced here, which was actually 2 years ago. We'll see whether or not that trend continues. Really soft tires on these modifieds, and that means they've got the opportunity to come down and take tires throughout this race on a newly pit road here. So there's a bunch of different things, but I think you're right. Getting off that straightaway, that drag strip, and down into turn number 1, where that goes from concrete to then the pavement again, the regular asphalt, is one of the tricky spots, and that's where you got to be good.
And they aren't really going into a banked corner. The banking was 6 degrees, 9 degrees, so you're basically going right from the drag strip to a flat surface, much like, say, a Riverhead that we saw a few weeks ago. So drivers who are certainly fast there look to be strong here tonight as the field rolls off. Headed by Justin Bonsignor, who in 10 races has scored 4 pole position. What an amazing stat.
Yeah, he's been on fire for sure here this year. Hey, let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's New Way Auto Parts 150 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Runner-up here in 2021, Justin Bonsignor with his 4th pole of the season. Matt Hirschman, 2 wins this year, will start along the front row. Austin Beers, he's the Richmond winner. And Chuck Hosfeld, 7-time series winner, makes his first start this season. Doug Kobe, a 6-time Whelen Modified Tour champion. And one of the local drivers, Tyler Ripkema, the nearby Owego, New York, starts 6th. Brian Narducci back in the 3-car off 7th. Tommy Catalano will start alongside. Ronnie Silk starting 9th tonight alongside Max McLaughlin, making his 3rd start of the season. You go back outside the top 10. Anthony Cecily starts 11th. Anthony Nocella alongside Kyle Bonsignor. Really a strong run for him. And Mike Leedy, who was a last-minute add to today's race. We'll talk more about that later. Kyle Ebersol, Tim Conley, Ken Hagee, Gary McDonald, Wanick and Melissa Fifield round out the starting lineup for tonight's New Way Auto Part 150.
What a great initial start this is setting up to be. You have Matt Hirschman, who despite missing 2 races still in standings, number 2 in lap led, so Money Matt, is certainly going to be out there and jumping on the start. Justin Bonsignor came within a half car length of winning this race 2 years ago. Had to come after a late race pit stop to charge the field for the driver who ended up beating not in the field tonight in Patrick Emmerling.
Emmerling is focused on his NASCAR Xfinity Series program, a car and team that he owns. That is why Mike Leedy, who works on Emerald car normally, is in the field today in the number 25 car, and so we'll keep an eye on that. Another team that's got a lot of experience here at this racetrack. But a beautiful sight. See the modifieds rolling. Very unique racetrack. You're going to have to take a look at all the different aspects of this track. Let's hear from our pole winner before we go green. Here's Jesse Punch with Justin Bonsignor.
Coming off a win, last race at Loudon, starting on the pole here tonight, Justin Bonsignor. Justin, the last time the mods were here, you finished runner-up in that race. How confident are you now, knowing what you've brought with you tonight, that you can finish one spot better?
Yeah, I think we got a really good car today. We practiced well. Was a little shocked we got the pole. I didn't think the lap was going to be all that great, but good enough for the pole. So we got track position. Hopefully we can lead some laps, get some bonus points with that, and just control the race and control when everybody pits. So we should have probably won the race here last year, or last time we were here. Just kind of put ourselves too far back late after our pit stop and had to charge back through. So we know we have a good car here. We just got to be smart with everything tonight, have a good pit stop, and hopefully be there at the end.
Thanks, Justin. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
That's Justin Bonsignor, starting on the pole for the 4th time this season.
And you looked at that pole-winning run. One thing I noticed that he did, he swung up from turn 4 and ran right against the wall. That's, of course, a fast groove. It was enough for the pole, but there are other grooves on the racetrack that other drivers might take advantage of here tonight.
This is a racetrack where you can run 2 wide. It's a 2-groove track, so if you've got a fast car, you can certainly slice and dice your way through the field and make up ground. There is Justin Bonsignor as the field rolls through turns 3 and 4, about ready to turn him loose here in her packed grandstand at Lancaster Motorplex. Pace car is in and the green flag is out in the New Way Auto Parts 150.
Hear that thunder down the back straightaway, and from the inside to lead lap number 1, Justin Bonsignor puts the number 51 up in front as they head back into turn number 1, single file.
Matt Hirschman, car 60, settles in to the 2nd spot. The 64 off the gear, very easily suited, and the gap back outside the top 5. All very experienced drivers in there, and Austin Beers, who may not necessarily be the most experienced wheel modified truck driver, one that is very good at this racetrack. He spent a lot of time with his dad, Eric, working modifieds. They're very modified at this racetrack in other divisions, and he's got a lot of experience here.
One driver who is not in the picture, we talk about the big 3 this year with Justin Bonsignor, also Doug Roby and Ronnie Silk. Silk qualified in 9th, now still inside the top 10, but as a front runner and certainly the point leader coming into tonight's event, a driver who qualified 9th, that is a story in its own right, qualifying mid-pack.
We'll see if they can get that car rolling a little bit faster in race trim. You see the 14 car on screen. That is Chuck Hosfeld. Chuck Hosfeld has the opportunity to run this event for Joe Stearns and this team out of Ransomville, New York, not far from here. And he's very optimistic and said anything shy of a top 5 finish tonight would be a disappointment for him in that 14 team.
Car number 7 rides right behind him for Doug Kobe. Last time out for the Whelen Modified Tour, that car was driven by John McKennedy, who led 89 laps of this race. And a car that obviously didn't end up in victory lane, but certainly the Tommy Baldwin number 7 fast around here tonight. Doug Kobe behind the wheel.
Tommy Baldwin, who earlier this week had the opportunity to participate in NASCAR's Hall of Fame voting process, where saw Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson, and Doug Allison all inducted into NASCAR's Hall of Fame, an opportunity that Tommy Baldwin takes obviously very, very seriously, but his impact in NASCAR and in modified racing continues on as one of the national voices participating here in tour races.
As you look up through the field, and actually behind Doug Kobe is a driver that If you're looking for a dark horse tonight, and as we talk about the 3 this year, one driver that could potentially break through is Tyler Rickma in car number 32. He has only 2 top 10 this year, both at Riverhead, but fresh off a strong run last time out in Loudon, where he was catching the draft on his own. Very fast race car here tonight. He was strong the last time the tour was at Lancaster.
They've decided to bring out a brand new race car. This is a car he actually bought from Connie Partridge, late Eddie Partridge's wife. They went through, they put the whole car back together. They ran it at New Smyrna following the Whelen Modified Tour event as part of Speed Weeks at New Smyrna, and got this car in shape for here this weekend. And he was one of the drivers that came over and spent some time with Mike Myers and the entire team and checked out some of the work that they have done in advance of this Whelen Modified Tour event. But Tyler Ripkema has been having really good runs here this season. And earlier this season, he told me, you know, I just need to get to racetracks that I'm familiar with, that I know. And if I do that, then I think we're ready to have a lot of success. But going to these tracks for the first time has been really difficult for us in the family team.
You really feel that with only one race under their belts as the Whelen Modified Tour in modern times, he really feels he is on the level playing field, or a much more level playing field with the rest of the pack. And the results are showing, too. An average finish of outside the top 10, 12.1, looking to increase that as they go around Melissa Fifield in the number 1. Justin Bonsignor breaks wide, and here comes Matt Hirschman down to the inside.
Cannot give Matt Hirschman an ounce of room on the racetrack. This time he is forced high to work around Melissa Fifield, and that allows Austin Beers to close in a little bit. But look at Matt Hirschman. He's on the hunt, got a good drive off turn number 4, tries to pull to the bottom, but you watch that apex at the exit of turn 2 where the radius of the turn tightens up a little bit. He just couldn't keep his nose underneath.
He'll look down to the inside. This time, Bonsignor runs a much lower line and will protect the inside drag strip as they work their way down the front straightaway. It's still the 51, and hanging tough is Austin Beers in the number 64.
Justin Bonsignor said one of the things that we were weaker with at the beginning of the year is we were not controlling the race and dictating it the way we wanted to be. We'd qualify a little bit deeper, even though he's got 4 poles. He wanted to go out and lead laps tonight, show that he had tremendous strength, and dictate what everybody else did. And I think that's why he's being pretty aggressive here in the early phases and protecting that lead over Matt Hirschman and not allowing Matt to run out and hide. Because as we saw at several tracks this year, Lee and Seekonk in particular, you let Matt Hirschman loose, and he is hard to reel back in.
He rides in second right now, and Bonsignor, as you mentioned, going out leading some laps, hoping to get some bonus points. You heard the interview early on, and he comes into the event only 8 points behind Ronnie Silk, who again qualified 9th, and there might be some strategy there by not running inside, say, qualifying inside the top 2 rows.
Tommy Catalano continuing to work on the back bumper of Tyler Ripkema, another driver who calls Western New York his home, looking to the inside of the back straightaway. And Catalano will send it down in there. You see that new pavement on the bottom. That's a new pit road that they paved for the race this year. And I was told that they would use that like the bottom shot, getting down in the bottom of turn 3. And Tommy Catalano, the first that we've seen in the broadcast so far to use it, but I think Matt Hirschman might try it out too.
Yeah, he puts both left tires down to the inside, and they are 2x2 as they work their way off of turn number 4. New leader Matt Hirschman in turn number 1.
So Hirschman to the lead here, 21 laps into the New Way Auto Parts 150, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour at Lancaster Speedway.
Austin Beers rides in third, locked onto the back bumper of Justin Bonsignor. Justin is still solid in that line. Might just be a tick off. I'm not sure if the handling's going away, but it looks like Beers has a faster race car as they work their way off of turn number 2. And to your point, Joe, Matt gets out in front, and Hirschman is 3 and make that 4 car lengths in the lead already off of 4.
Last time off turn 2, I saw Hirschman running a bit of a higher exit. Watch how Bonsignor is protecting the bottom. He's running the inside lane, but this is a 2-lane racetrack, and Austin Beers knows that, and he saw what Matt Hirschman can do, and he's taking a look at the outside through turns 1 and 2. Now in turns 3 and 4, follows in the tire tracks of Justin Bonsignor.
In 2021, John McKennedy led the majority of the first half of this race, running on the bottom side. It's only when he moved up the racetrack about 12, 18 inches is when he started to run into trouble. So Bonsignor still fine as far as the handle goes on the race car. Looking for a little speed, though, off of turn number 4 as Beers is right on the back bumper.
Beers in the tire track, this time into turn number 1. See the lap traffic up ahead that the race leader Matt Hirschman will have here in a couple of moments. as they go back into turn 3. You see the closing rate for Beers much better on entry at the beginning of turn 3, but lap traffic will prevent his progress.
Car number 3, Brian Narducci, having another start in the old blue car, and every time he's been out in that race car this year, they've been ultra fast, running in the top 5 in Richmond for a number of laps, and good to see the number 3 up inside the top 10 here tonight thus far.
Yeah, really good run for Brian Narducci. Not a lot of experience on tracks like this, and so that's a good start for him as he continues to move forward. Narducci in the 3, and you watched the battle between Justin Bonsignor and the 64 of Austin Beers, and all of a sudden things start to tighten up a little bit. Chuck Hosfeld in the 14. You've got the 7 New York of Doug Coby, and Tommy Catalano starting to make waves as well. He's moved into the 6th position after he got by Ripkema.
Right behind them is the car number 77 for Mad Max McLaughlin. McLaughlin in car 77, you see him on your screen going to the outside with Ron Silk in tow. They go around the lap number 26. Last time out, he sat on the outside pole last time out at this racetrack and finished inside the top 3. This is a home race for these drivers, so good to see 77 Max McLaughlin behind the wheel tonight.
At the start of the broadcast, we talked about the 16 car of Ronnie Silk. He's a championship point leader, but he qualified back in the 9th position. And that was, I think, a strategy call that worked for them at the Wall Stadium. They qualified deep in the field there, and they wanted to focus their efforts not on a qualifying lap, but a decent qualifying lap and build more towards long race speed. Ronnie Silk, 30 laps in, has not progressed, currently sitting back in the 9th position. That's exactly where he started. It's still early, but just something to take note of as we get underway.
Doug Coby continues to run in position number 5. That car led about half of this race 2 years ago with a different driver. It's right in front of Catalano as they work their way back into turn number 1, but it is all Matt Hirschman. Hirschman up in front by about 5 car lengths. Then it's Austin Beers, and now you focus in on Coby in the 7 New York, right behind Hosfeld in the 14. Something tells me Hosfeld, he is extremely, or has been extremely smooth the first 34 laps of this race. Just kind of picking and choosing. Actually swings wide a little bit as I say that. Wouldn't be surprised to see Hosfeld letting the race come to him as we progress here through the first half of the event. But he has a mirror full of Coby off of turn number 4.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And Chuck Hosfeld was really focused on being smart in this race. Very experienced in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour competition. 7-time winner, but the last time he won was 2008. He had stepped away to focus on RV business, his car dealership, and a small wedding venue that they have not far from here on their homestead here in Western New York. He knows how to run with these guys, and he's very well respected in modified racing, but he also knows that he doesn't do this every week. And he said, I've got to be smart, I've got to be aware of what's going on around me and have a good, clean pit stop, save my stuff for the end, and when it counts, then I'm going to use everything I've got left out of that 14 car.
He is certainly relying on a lot of his old bag of tricks right now. Car number 14 holding off one of the strongest competitors, one of the big 3 this year of Doug Coby. Now opens up a nice 2-car length gap on him, and that's the 14. You miss a day, you miss a lot. And you go off and you focus on, other ventures within your life. You come back to it when you wait for the muscle memory to come back. It might take half the race or so, but as long as it's the second half of the race where it comes back to you, then that's going to pay dividends for car 14. So 3 cars running nose to tail here on lap number 38 as they cross the stripe.
This is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Chuck Hosfeld holding on to 4th. Here's Coby now, seeing if he can find a lane to the inside as they work down the back straightaway and back into turn 3, but not willing to press the issue just yet. And Tommy Catalano continuing to stay with these guys. He's running very quick lap times that equal them. He'll take a step to the outside lane to see if there's any room up there to the outside. Coby?
As they go around Melissa Fifield in the 0-1, Hosfeld holds on to it. They go back into turn number 3, and there's Doug Coby, who narrowly was in that major, that wild finish at Loudon last time out. And, a lot has been talked about the 3 drivers really chasing the championship this year, and the fact that, yeah, they'll get into each other. They'll rub, but they will do it respectfully. It's interesting to see what happens on the racetrack versus if you, I'm not saying you're fishing for sound bites and whatnot. These drivers certainly don't do that. But if you read between the lines a little bit, you can hear some of the chirpiness and say Justin Bonsignor saying, well, you know, I'm really glad that Ronnie Silk backed off on that one. Maybe he's paying me back for Wall Stadium. He wasn't calling Ron out, but he's saying, in the back of my mind, I know what happened the weeks prior, and I'm glad that I was raced that way. You saw both of those drivers congratulate Justin in victory lane, and that great finish that really could have gone to anybody on the last lap.
I think there's a healthy undertone of respect and rivalry among those three champions, Justin Bonsignor, Ron Silk, and Doug Coby. And I think that battle, at some point in time, it's going to boil over, and that's just going to be part of the sport. And it'll happen.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit past halfway right now in the season, and all these guys know that they cannot give up any ground, because as soon as you do, somebody else is going to be right there to take an advantage. Here comes Coby now. He's got that good run off turn number 4. Finds a window of room down to the bottom of Chuck Hosfeld, and let's see if he can get it done.
Is side by side off of turn number 2 and rocketing down the back straightaway at the Tommy Baldwin number 7. More rolls into spot number 4. So again, 10 championships, series championships between those 3 drivers, and I think getting back to the level of respect, they've been there, done that. This isn't their first rodeo. They know that they're going to be racing around those other drivers all year long based on their performance. But still, whether you're watching Wall, whether you're watching Riverhead, and watching these drivers just beat the daylights out of each other, but yet keep it straight, you're like, well, this is going to be the week. This is where it is. They've run cool here for a couple of weeks, but no, this is where the gloves come off. But no, every single week, you know, if they do get into each other, they let each other straighten it out. And again, it comes back to the years of racing around each other and the respect that goes along. But in these hot summer weeks, that's got to boil over at some point this summer.
Give all a reason to continue tuning in and watching the action here. The New Way Auto Parts 150 from Lancaster Speedway out in front. Matt Hirschman leading the way. A great battle right here. Tommy Catalano trying to move inside the top 5, working to the inside of turn 1 of Chuck Hosfeld. He's got Tim Conley, the yellow number 4. Lapped automobile up ahead wasn't a factor, but Tommy Catalano now moving inside the top 5 and picking up another spot.
Well, look who's coming into your picture right behind Hosfeld, the silver and red number 16. There is Ronnie Silk. He is up to 7th.
So we talked about how he started back in 9th and was very quiet, but now just shy of 50 laps in the 1/3 mark of tonight's race. And Ronnie Silk has got a long-run race car that is starting to come to life. You saw the 14 car of Hosfeld wobble a little bit coming up off turn number 4, and that allowed Silk to close right to the back bumper.
That is just so smart on the 16 team's part too, because if they go back and they look at, because they are building the notebook of Lancaster, they only have one race, that was 2021, and it ran for about 70-75% green flag, long green flag run like we've seen here in the first 51 laps of this one. So if this race is going to be anything like the last one, it's smart to not necessarily go up there and you know, run the money lap and get the pole, let the race come to you. You're seeing that in Ronnie Silk's move. I mean, this year, as you've said, Joe, racing with fire in his eyes. He already has a championship. He, again, has been there, done that. But I think people have seen Ronnie Silk race a little differently this year with a little more intensity than he's had in the past, and certainly paying dividends as your point leader. He's led the points for the majority of the season.
He's a very focused individual, but this year he has been really locked in, and you can see it in his presence out of the race car in the pit area, and certainly what he does holding that steering wheel on track. He is carving his way through the field. He's closed up on the back bumper of the 6th place car now, Chuck Hosfeld, and he's running lap times that are just as efficient, about 5 seconds behind the race leader, Matt Hirschman, but that car really coming to life. And although we had a real long green flag run in the one race we had here 2 years ago for the Whelen Modified Tour, at the end, it was a bunch of little short runs because there was a lot of cautions at the end. And so having a good long run car, well, that might get you in position now. But I think the crew chiefs have in the back of their mind that this could be a track where there is a ton of short 1, 2, 3 lap runs towards the finish of that one. So we'll keep an eye on that.
2 years ago, Justin Bonsignor was up inside the top 3. There was one of those late race cautions. It came out with 22 or 23 laps to go. He had a miscue on the crew's part, which knocked him back, I believe, to the 6th or 7th position, and he had to charge to get back to where it was. Almost picked up the win over Emmerling. Emmerling, of course, was the victor 2 years ago. But again, to your point, with those late race caution flags, have a late race pit stop with that reconfigured pit road. I wonder that plays into the strategy for tonight's race.
Here's Silk looking inside. Hosfeld thought better of it. Right behind them, Brian Narducci. Oh, Silk out of shape to the bottom of turn 4. Ropes it back in, and Hosfeld's able to open things up a little bit. That's where the transition that we were talking about earlier got the left front just about on the grass. Maybe just went a little bit too far, Silk.
He's bringing Brian Narducci with him, too, and if you're going to follow in the tire tracks of somebody, Ronnie Silk is a really good customer to do so. There's Kyle Bonsignor in car number 22 right behind. He has had a, I wouldn't say down day, but certainly not the level of performance that we've seen out of that race car this year. Again, letting the race come to him. He's right behind. Well, going to go race with Narducci now as they both trail Silk and Hosfeld through turns number 3 and 4.
Yeah, good battle here as we keep an eye on this. Narducci running 8th, Kyle Bonsignor running 9th. Here's Tommy Catalano picking up another spot underneath Doug Kobe. That'll move him inside the top 4, so Catalano continues to march forward in that 54. The family operation decided to step back and not run as many races this year on the Whelen Modified Tour. They're kind of a rocky start for them, but when they've come back and run those select races, they've had strong runs, and tonight's another one.
Yeah, good race for him as Silk goes down to the inside, makes that 10-12 lap pass over Chuck Hosfeld as they continue to work their way down the back straightaway. One driver you'll see on the ticker not exactly having the best night is someone that we certainly forecasted to have a better one is Tyler Ripkema. He is back in 15th position, so desperately wanting a pit stop or an opportunity to adjust his race car. It was fast in the first 20 laps, but it just all went away very quickly.
He told me before the race, I'm a little bit worried about the new car blues. And you know what, brand new race car, he said, but we're going to go out and give it a shot anyway. So that's a good story to pick up on. Tyler Ripkema did fall back after a good strong start in the 6th position earlier tonight. And we started a little bit about the 22 car of Kyle Bonsignor. Having a great season, 5th in points, has been averaging good qualifying runs and continuing to be just about the top 10 all season. He had a long streak going at the first part of the season. They've kind of fallen off in the last couple of races, but he's right back at it again, running in the 8th spot, closing in on Chuck Hosfeld running in 7th. And, you know, that team has just been very consistent throughout the season, and they're really turning the program around from where they were a year ago.
I know they certainly missed not racing at Claremont last week after our weather situation, because that's a team, or that's a race that I know they had checked off to really you know, to pick out the performance, or maybe use that as an opportunity to get a little closer to the front in the standings. As the 22 rides behind the 14, solid for Hosfeld, and one must wonder if you run 150 laps. I don't think anybody thinks we're going to go green to checker on this one, but you know, the more laps that you run, when you don't run every single week, and you know, you're certainly not 22 years old anymore, if there's any wariness on Chuck Hosfeld's part as the race wears on.
Well, you know what, one thing that's important is that the Modified Tour has been changing tire compounds a little bit based on various racetracks, and this is back to a very soft right rear tire once again. And as this run goes on, it's going to really put these guys up on the wheel, elbows up, trying to keep these cars underneath them. So you can already start to see them, especially with that transition from turn 4 onto that concrete drag strip that we were talking about. The car's starting to step out a little bit, the nose not giving them the grip that they need on corner exit. All those things are going to start coming into play, and we're just up to the halfway point of this race here in a handful of laps, and there's still a long way to go.
How about car number 54, Tommy Catalano, moving up into position number 3 now. Justin Bonsignor shuffled back just a little bit. Everybody's still chasing Matt Hirschman. Car number 60 jumped out in front after Justin Bonsignor led the first couple of laps, but 60 has checked out. Good battle further on back. Hosfeld with a mirror full of Kyle Bonsignor. They're side by side back to the stripe, and Bonsignor give him the advantage back into 1.
That moves him into the 7th position. Brian Narducci in old blue number 3 going to slide right into the back bumper. He'll cut that car hard to the left, try to use the inside lane, but Hosfeld outbrakes him on entry, but here comes Narducci on exit. Again, look at that car just sliding around as he came off turn 4.
It's great old school racing, and to see old blue, whether it's Jake Johnson, whether it's Brian Narducci, little contact that time in turn number 2. That will separate them about 3 car lengths as they head back into turn number 3, running pretty much the same line. Neither driver really going down to that fresh pavement and trying to get that extra grip in turn 3.
You can see Narducci backing up the corner entry. He's not as good on entry, but boy, he gets set back to the gas pretty quick, and it seemed like he got to it so aggressively, and Hausfeld's car just didn't take off that they nearly spun and came together. Here they are again, about 2 car lengths separating between the two of them as they guided up off turn number 4. 74 laps now complete, or 73 laps complete in the New Way Auto Parts 150.
It isn't necessarily about winning the race for every single driver in this field here tonight. You have drivers with different motivations like Hausfeld. You have Mike Leedy in a story we'll get to a little bit later on. But right now, on your screen, you'll see car number, your leader, off of turn number 4, Matt Hirschman. Hirschman is up in front. He's been up there since about lap number 22. Swings wide that time through 1 and 2. It's going to cost him a little ground.
He's got a healthy advantage back to Austin Beers, who runs in second. But Beers did close in as he worked that lap traffic. He gained about 0.3 of a second just because of that move, Andy. You see the gap, though, pretty heavy. And there's Austin Beers now behind all these lap machines. Tommy Wanek, Ken Hagee. Austin Beers goes well wide at turn number 1, and he will give up the same speed and ground that Matt Hirschman did a lap ago.
And Matt Hirschman continues to lead this race. Ronnie Sill continues to lead the standings and laps led in the Whelen Modified Tour this year. Coming into this race, and to this point, he has led 396 laps. Matt Hirschman, number 7 in the point standings, despite missing 2 races. He's currently number 3 in the standings when it comes to laps led with 324. So you throw in the 50 or some odd laps that he's led here tonight. Hirschman, despite missing 2 races, wouldn't that happen if he was the lap leader for the entire season? He's closing in on Silk in that stat.
Yeah, he's done a great job. When he has showed up in a big way. You know, Justin Bonsignore started today's race on the pole. He led the first 20 laps so far, and then he fell back. Right now, he's running in the 4th position as Doug Kobe and Ron Silk closes in. So Silk is up to 6th. He hasn't gained that many positions, but he has gained a lot of track position. He looks to the inside of Kobe, but Tyler Ripkema going to go a lap down to his inside, and the lead will work to the outside.
Silk now down to the inside of Kobe and makes quick work of car number 7 as Ron Silk will follow in on Tyler Ripkema. Kyle Bonsignore gets by as well. One must wonder if the Tommy Baldwin number 7 is running into some handling problems. He's dropped back just a little bit as they work their way through 1 and 2.
You saw the bobble up off turn number 2 ever so slightly for Doug Kobe, and that was enough for him to lose a handful of positions. He's going to be happy, though. The caution is out for the first time. 81 laps into the New Way Auto Parts 150 at Lancaster Motorplex. Matt Hirschman had led the whole way so far, I should say. He's led since lap 21 where he took over the race leader. We've had 2 leaders. Justin Bonsignore led the first 20 laps, and Matt Hirschman has gone the rest of the way. Opened up just shy of a 3-second advantage over second place Austin Beers, but they've got fresh Hoosier Eagles, or fresh Hoosier tires, I should say, on the pit lane, ready to get changed as these guys will all come down pit road.
How many tires do you anticipate these drivers changing on this pit stop? Will it be 2 tires? Will some take 4 at this juncture of the race? It's an 11-tire race, and you had to start the races that you qualified on. It's going to be for pit strategy. Matt Hirschman and car number 60 has led this race for a decent distance of it, and even though the Whelen Modified Tour is building the notebook for racing here at Lancaster, that home track advantage to have all the wins that Matt Hirsch has at this facility really paying dividends here mid-race for car 60.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So 82 laps in, this is going to be that brand new pit road they've never seen. To answer your question, I'd expect everybody to take 3 tires here. That left front tire can usually hang on the entire of the distance, but you documented earlier about some of the challenges that teams have had on pit road. It'll be curious to see whether or not there's any as a problem that adds some more interest and intrigue to what we have seen so far, because that has been the trend when we've introduced the pit stops back into the competition.
Last time out, Justin Bonsignore had and it wasn't even really a miscue on pit road, it was just that everybody was a little bit faster. So a driver who was in the top 3 for the majority of the race was kicked outside the top 5, had to rally, almost won the race, but without that pit miscue, certainly would have had a much clearer path to a victory that night. as you see Matt Hirschman roll down the pit road this time.
And because he had such a big lead, there were several lap cars between he and Austin Beers. Look at, he's got 20 car lengths on pit road. This team can go to work, get things done, but not rush, because as long as they have a good, clean pit stop, they can get back out onto the racetrack. Right behind them, you see the 51 of Justin Bonsignor is in. They're working on the right side tires of Matt Hirschman, and there you see the left rear tires off, and the crew member going underneath that car to make an adjustment. This is going to be a pretty long stop for the 60 car of Matt Hirschman and might create opportunity for somebody else.
I thought they were just going to have a nice, easy pit stop, maybe have some ice cream, because it just seemed like they, oh no, Austin Beers beats him off pit road. Justin Bonsignor off pit road too. So it seems to be a bigger deal for the 60 than we originally anticipated. Everybody's getting off pit road.
They might have had too much ice cream on that pit stop. 60 car of Matt Hirschman lost a ton of ground. You saw them slow down and had a crew member underneath the left rear to make an adjustment on their race car, but he's going to lose a ton of positions on pit road and will go from the lead to just to the bottom half of the top 10. We'll see when they shake out all the scoring. There you see the crew climbing over pit wall, but even when they jumped to the car when it came to a stop, there wasn't the sense of urgency. You saw the guys go out with the guns. They weren't blasting off of pit wall. You know, they were very casual as they went about it, and that ultimately I think is going to cost them some pit stops. So now Matt Hirschman calls the shots on this race car from behind the wheel. He is one of the most studied, prepared, note-driven drivers out on the racetrack, and he can tell you everything about this race car, different temperatures, different track conditions. If he called for a adjustment to the suspension of that left rear, I'm assuming they made a shock adjustment on the left rear of that race car with them crawling up underneath it, there was a reason for it. And so don't count him out just because they had a bad pit stop. Hirschman knows what he's doing. He's one of the most crafty veterans out there.
We get to the home track advantage. If there's somebody who knows how to use both lanes and knows how to pass race cars, it's the driver of car number 60. But how many times this year even have we seen drivers run up front, have a miscue on pit road, get mired back in the field, whether it be 8th or 11th, and then not be able to make the progress back towards the front. This will not be a sprint. Thus far, we still have 65, 64 laps to go in this race. So still plenty of time for Matt Hirschman to make his way to the front. One driver who really needed that caution flag, but I believe he will still be one lap in arrears, is Tyler Ripkema, too. Mired back in 14th position. Came in this race with such high hopes. A very strong run. Last time out at Loudon, he was catching the draft by himself. It was pretty amazing to watch, but came into this race after running strong 2 years prior, qualified 6th, but outside the top 10. There's your new leader, though, Matt Beers in car number 64. Excuse me, Austin Beers.
So Austin Beers has taken over the race lead here tonight. Justin Bonsignor came off pit road 2nd. Ron Silk is now up to 3rd. Doug Cope 4th. Matt Hirschman will restart, it looks like, in the 6th position. I forgot 4th is actually Kyle Bonsignor, then the 7 of Doug Cope 5th, and Matt Hirschman is 6th. So Hirschman lost 6 positions on pit road. Is that going to be the story of tonight's race? Only time will tell when we get ready to get back under the green flag here tonight. The New Way Auto Parts 150 here at Lancaster Speedway. You can't say enough about the promoters, all the sponsors, the displays that they've had on the midway here. This place has had such energy, such outstanding short track vibe. Hardy Buffalo fans are here for modified racing tonight, and they came out in droves and by the carload.
And did not break any tables as far as I know yet. That would be an amazing victory lane celebration. You know, like tracks love to do different trophies and whatnot. What if they made the winner crash through a table? I mean, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I want to see that. I want to see my winner going through a table after 150 laps. Maybe not, but no, there is it's electric here tonight at Lancaster, and you can see it by, I mean, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. I often say that, and fans absolutely packed here tonight on an August Saturday night for a part of the country that receives feet of snow, sometimes 5 in a storm. Shoveling out multiple times per storm. This is what, if you don't like winter and you're in the Buffalo area, this is what you're here for. A nice, Saturday night in early August. Still a little daylight. You can see the sun fading a little bit in turn 4.
Getting ready to get back under the green flag here in the New Way Auto Parts 150 from Lancaster Motorplex. Austin Beers, after a round of pit stops, won the race off of pit road, and he leads for the first time today in the 64 car alongside pole sitter 51 in Justin Bonsignor as they get ready to turn him loose one more time here in Lancaster.
Beers and Bonsignor will bring them to full speed, this time off of turn number 4 in the restart zone. Green flag is out.
Austin Beers pretty quick down to the inside lane, is able to clear Justin Bonsignor. Now the battle for second, those two championship contenders. As far forward as he has been all day long, working the bottom of Justin Bonsignor.
And remember at Loudon, the 51, the 16, bumping Nerf bars. They've done that pretty much every week this year. And again, the cream rising to the top. The big three in or on your screen right now: 16, 51, 7, and look at Matt Hirschman wasting no time answering the call.
Back inside the top 5. Here is Ronnie Silk now. Inside lane, wheel to wheel off turn 2. Bonsignor holding tight on the outside lane with Kobe waiting in the wings. Bonsignor a side edge in turn 3.
If I'm Austin Beers, I look in the rear view mirror. I see these drivers battling side by side. I pick my lane. I get to getting. I get out as fast as I can and build that lead. What a breakout year for Austin Beers with the win at Richmond. This isn't necessarily a large track like Richmond, 3/4 of a mile compared to 5/8 of a mile, but still a little bit of size on this one, and it's really paying dividends for Austin Beers now as we watch the battle between Doug Kobe and Ronnie Silk for second.
Kobe able to get underneath Bonsignor, as did Matt Hirschman. So Bonsignor now falls back to 5th and continues to lose ground to the top 4. Here is Kobe putting the heat on Ronnie Silk off turn 4, and Hirschman is there. He's picked up 2 spots since we went back under the green flag 5 laps ago.
Kobe is in the tire tracks. He's bringing Matt Hirschman to the party, and to your point, Bonsignor off just a tick again. Car 51, not sure if they had something where they didn't, or they over adjusted on their pit stop, which is now he's falling into the clutches of Kyle Bonsignor.
Yeah, Kyle Bonsignor, they are cousins as they work off turn 2 to the back straightaway, closing in. But here is the battle among the top 4. Ronnie Silk has not been able to gain a ton of ground on Austin Beers, but Austin Beers at the same point in time isn't just driving away from these veterans behind him.
Kyle Bonsignor looks down to the inside. He has Tommy Catalano in a 3-way battle further on back as they are battling just inside or outside the top 5. 51, 22, here comes the 54, putting his nose down to the inside, and there's Tyler Ripkema as well. Ripkema is 1 lap in arrears, which is a tough break for the 32 car. It seems that he has made the adjustment that he needs. Unfortunately, he's not on the same lap as the leaders right now as they run down the front straightaway.
He runs 14th at the moment, does the 32 of Tyler Ripkema, but you see him there on the right side of your screen. This battle, the 51 of Justin Bonsignor, Kyle Bonsignor in the 22, and continuing to have a strong run solidly inside the top 10 is the 54, Tommy Catalano, running in 7th right now, and that's going to be a big morale boost for the entire team.
They certainly have changed up their plans in 2023. They came out all guns blazing, didn't have the results that they were looking for, but when a race team changes their focus and decides to say, we're going to do this event, we're going to pick and choose, and they put all their eggs in the basket of a certain race, you know, you really hate to see, obviously, things not work out for him. 54, really things paying off for him here, middle stages of this race as we watch the Bonsignors, as Matt Hirschman has driven away from these drivers as well.
Yeah, Matt Hirschman does not have the speed, though, that he had on that first run before he was able to cut his way inside and outside, put his car wherever he wanted. But that adjustment that they made doesn't seem to make that car run as fast as it did earlier, because he has still got quite a distance to track down Doug Kobe. And Austin Beers continues to open it up and open it up and open it up, and he's starting to drive away with this thing.
I wonder if it was the right caution at the right time for Matt Hirsch, where it was preventive maintenance on the number 60, where things could have really gone south had the flag not come out for another 10 laps or so. And the adjustment that they made on the race car certainly, you know, to your point, Joe, it's not as fast as it was before, but it's something that they had to do on the race car. Or again, did they over adjust?
Up front, Austin Beers has lap traffic ahead of him. It's stabilized at about a half-second advantage back to Ronnie Silk. That was the lead battle. We go back a little bit deeper in the pack, continuing to watch the battle for 5th. That's a good one too. Here's 3 drivers now inside the top 3, all in the same screen, about 10-15 car lengths separating. It's a tight battle here inside of 44 laps to go.
Doug Kobe closed right on the back bumper of Ronnie Silk, and they will go single file down the back straightaway, about 5 car lengths behind your leader, Austin Beer, as they work their way off of turn number 4. Further on back in the pack, nice to see Mike Leedy break inside the top 10 in a race team that won this race 2 years ago, with Pat Emmerling not in attendance here tonight due to his Michigan commitments. It's good to see him get a start and run with his dad, Jan Leedy, who is calling the shots here tonight, seeing just the father-son aspect of the Whelen Modified Tour. And I wouldn't say a changing of the guard, but just to see generations working together tonight.
Go one step further, 3rd generation, his daughter Alyssa, who races modifieds as well, always works on the Emmerling car, helping her dad. You got 3 generations of Jan Leedy, Mike Leedy, and Alyssa Leedy, all part of it. Not having the run they hope to have here tonight, back in 11th, but still a good run for the team that is really making a rare start on the modified tour. This battle, though, here for the 2nd spot, really starting to intensify. Kobe is starting to go after it, and look who's coming in that black 60.
It's now a 3-way race with Matt Hirschman entering into the picture. And to your point, Joe, as far as being the most calculated drivers out there, so you get in the race car and it's not doing what you wanted it to do. If you're Matt Hirschman, put your panic button. You let the race come to you. You strategize. Maybe you run a different line. You search and you find some speed, and eventually maybe you get closer to a battle for, in this case, something inside the top 3, which is what he's done. The car was not where, I think, to his liking the first 10-15 laps of this run, but it really has come to him in the last half dozen or so.
Does he have enough time, though? He's 1.7 seconds behind Austin Beers, whose gap back to Ronnie Silk is expanding. It's just under 0.8 of a second right now. So Beers, even through lap traffic, driving away the veterans, Ronnie Silk, Doug Kobe, and Matt Hirschman, as they are all now left to battle for 2nd. But you keep an eye on what happened in the trends that we documented earlier. Those short runs to the finish, could that become a factor in the final 37 laps?
That's one thing that's working in Matt Hirschman's favor, is the fact that, you know, traditionally, and we only have one race to base it on, a lot of green flag at the first 85% of the race, but a lot of yellow flag and a lot of short runs in that case as well. You have Matt Hirschman continuing to run right there with Tommy Baldwin car. It's Doug Kobe running the Baldwin number 7 right behind Ronnie Silk as they work their way single file around the Mystic Missile number 4.
Outside lane for Ronnie Silk as Tim Conley hangs in on the bottom, as he has been able to open up the advantage that Kobe had chipped away at. And here comes Matt Hirschman, looking a little bit low that time, seeing if he can gain some speed off turn number 4. A little bit lower, like a tire width lower on entry than Doug Kobe.
It is a matter of inches for these drivers, and you have Matt Hirschman in car 60 still trying to get around the lap automobile. The one thing that's working against him, we talked about something that was working for him, the potential caution flags and short runs at the end of the race, which we've yet to see. But the drivers he's passing aren't 16th place cars. He has to pass Ronnie Silk. He has to pass Doug Kobe just to get to have a shot at Austin Beers. So it's, again, drivers who know how to hold off hard charges like Matt Hirschman.
The other car that's coming back to life is a 51 of Justin Bonsignor. That car had faded after the caution period and we went back under the green flag, but he is now becoming a factor once again, closing within 2-3 car lengths and bringing Tommy Catalano right with him.
You know, for the longest time we said, well, there's plenty of time left in this race. There's 60 laps, there's 50 laps, there's 70 laps. You know, they have time to sort things out. There are only 30 laps to go when they hit the start-finish line this time, and Austin Beers continues to be in command of this race. But we watch Tommy Catalano lining up right in the tire tracks now. Again, matter of inches, goes down to the inside. He's searching for a way around Justin Bonsignor. He tried low, swung high in turn number 1.
If you watch the cars entering down into turn number 1, the 60 of Matt Hirschman is the only car that's got the right front brake rudder glowing red. Everybody else not using as much brake getting into the turn. Tells you that Hirschman's got his hands full with that 60 car. Here is Catalano, though, closing in on the 3-time champion Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor walks up the racetrack ever so slightly, but Catalano couldn't keep the nose underneath.
This is what the fans paid for. This is why you're watching this on Flow here tonight. It is getting down to soft tires, a slick racetrack, a hot Saturday night, and open-wheeled competition with 27 laps to go this time. Car number 64, Austin Beers, is your leader. But to your point, Joe, I mean, yeah, rotors are starting to glow, and elbows are up. Multiple lanes being used to try to advance their positions.
Beers with now a 1.7 second advantage. Back to the second place, Ronnie Silk. You see Silk right there, a healthy advantage back to the 60 of Matt Hirschman. That runs in fourth, and Doug Kobe, who continues to try to hunt to see if he can gain ground on Hirschman, but Hirschman able to move into the third spot over a couple of laps ago when we were watching that battle with Justin Bonsignor, has now set his sights on Ron Silk.
Yeah, watch Doug Kobe this time. He's really launching into turn number 1 and making up his ground right here. But Hirschman able to pull away off of turn number 2. Meanwhile, further on up in the back, you have Justin Bonsignor all over the back bumper of Tommy Catalano as they go around the lap number 26. They continue to swap it with 23 laps to go this time.
Put Tommy Catalano inside the top 5 here tonight, and a great run continues for the 54 car. And if it continues on here this way, score a top 5 this year inside of 25 laps to go is going to be huge for that team.
It is Austin Beers who continues to be in charge of this one. Ronnie Silk, your point leader, looking for not necessarily a max points night, but certainly padding that point lead, which was not too big coming into this one. It was single digits between himself and Justin Bonsignor. Those are the two drivers really fighting it out for the championship. Austin Beers looking to make up a little ground too on Doug Kobe. He was only 8 points behind car number 7 coming into this race tonight.
And it's going to be one of those kind of seasons where a couple points here, a couple points there is going to give you enough pad going to the end. But Austin Beers, he's in that championship hunt as well. He's lost a little bit of ground recently, but if he can hang on for the win, it'll certainly continue to keep his name into contention. That 64 team, his dad, Eric Beers, has a lot of time racing at this racetrack, and they run their family modified here on a pretty regular basis. He felt very confident that what they put in this 64 car tonight was going to be very similar to what they normally put in their family-owned Beers Motorsports number 45 car, blue car usually, and that car always super, super quick. There's Sly Zabin. He is one of the crew chiefs for the 64 of Austin Beers, and he is one of the brain trust of this team. There is a 19 though that brings out the caution flag. Caution flag is out. 19 laps to go. This time it's for Anthony Cecily here at Lancaster Motorplex.
That is a tough break for Cecily, who was running up inside the top 10 very early in the race. Solid run for car number 19, but yeah, you can see the suspension is used up big time after major contact. Looks like that, well, certainly it happened with the foam barriers that we see in the corners. Otherwise, it'd be a lot messy.
Yeah, that's a weird place. Right on the straightaway. He's on the concrete part of the racetrack that we've been talking about, the front stretch, and that was a treacherous spot that they told us before the race that you really had to be careful just because of that transition. The traction compound that down for the drag race facility really makes quite the transition for these modifieds, and Anthony Cecily involved there. And you know, it's a real shame because Cecily has had 3 top 5s this season in a handful of starts, and the only time he's really finished worse than 6th has been when he's had crashes. And you know, he wasn't running inside the top 6 tonight, sure, but was out there having a good event, clean event to this point, and he's going to have his 3rd DNF and crash of the season here tonight. There is the race leader, Austin Beers. On the right side there, Sly Zabin, who worked many years with Mike Stefanik. They had an outstanding relationship. Mike Stefanik, Hall of Fame, multiple Whelen Modified Tour championships, and also on what was the Busch North Series now has transitioned into, you know, ARCA and the way that that organization has evolved over the years. But you know, Sly Zabin has a way of talking to Austin that's very unique, and they've got really 3 people that work together. One is Ron Uhas, who used to drive this 64 car, his dad Eric Beers, and then Sly Zabin. Those 3 work together in a way that has created the performance. Some of it is his dad Eric can translate what Eric's talking about, and then Sly Zabin and Ronnie Uhas are so good with the wrenches and the setup and making the decisions that combination has worked so well. And it's interesting, because you usually don't see that. You usually see one person at the helm, and it works, but 3 guys seeming to make it work.
Or if you're Matt Hirschman, you just do it from the cockpit of the race car. This race taking on a very similar look than we had 2 years ago, where we ran 125 laps with 1 caution flag, and that was when Woody Putcat had a mechanical issue and crashed into turn number 1. But after that, there was another caution flag on lap 134 with 16 laps to go, followed by another caution with 8 laps to go. So, and there were pit stops. At this point, 2 years ago, will we see the top stars of the Whelen Modified Tour pull onto pit road? And if so, does anybody stay out for that crucial track position? You see how well the track position is paid off for Austin Beers tonight. He couldn't sniff the lead until he got it, and once he did, he has really built up a 1.8 second lead. Looks like we're going under the red flag now for the cleanup.
10 cars on the lead lap, and so if you're Austin Beer, probably not coming down pit road, Ron Silk, Matt Hirschman, but if I'm 8th, Chuck Hosfeld, Kyle Ebersole, 9th, 10th, Brian Narducci, you don't have a whole lot to lose to come down and maybe make an adjustment to your race car, and we could very well see that here as we get towards the finish. You know, I was talking about those 3 crew chiefs, so to speak, on the 64 car, and you pointed out, and I think you had a comment coming around, Sly Zabin had his head in his hands and was shaking his head here at this point in the race because they were going to win this thing going away, it would seem, as the green flag stayed out, but it didn't seem like that's what he was thinking when he saw the caution.
I didn't know if it was the August on his head, but he was certainly sweating. Yeah, it's tough to have a situation where you feel that, I mean, and he's trying to get back into the, you know, you think about the race and maybe picking up your 2nd win of the year in what's been a breakout season, but there's also the bigger picture of coming into this race 46 points out of the point lead, still one of the 4 drivers. We talk about the big 3, but but still in the picture, and very much a part of that picture is car 64 Austin Beers, looking to gain some ground on Doug Coby coming into this race. They were 38 and 46 points out respectively. Austin with some bonus points possibly could leapfrog and move inside the top 3. So a lot riding on the call that's coming, if there's one at all. Well, there will be a call, whether it's to come to pit road or not, and it looks like they're discussing that right now.
Well, I can tell you this, Sly Zabin is, I'm sure, loving that camera down there because he is a very quiet guy, a private guy, and I'm sure he loves being the center of attention because that's not where he likes to be. He likes to be the mastermind behind the scene, and he's very, very good at it, and that is why he's had so much success with Mike Stefanik, as we said, and now with Austin Beers here over the years. Now, Austin Beers, his spotter is a driver by the name of Jack Ely, and I say driver because at Spencer Speedway last night, those two went over and ran together, and Austin Beers put the spotter headset on to help his spotter, who was driving that race, go out there and have a good run. And now they've got those roles reversed once again, where Austin's back behind the wheel of his race car trying to get his 2nd career win and 2nd of the season, should he be able to hang on here in the final few laps tonight.
He's been able to be fast in qualifying with 3 poles to his credit this year, and he hasn't been outside of the top 10 since Riverhead back in May. So, you know, an incredibly, you know, big season where he had that breakout win at Richmond, was strong to kick off the year at New Smyrna. Had a bit of a fall off. I'm not sure what happened there, if it was mechanical or whatever, or if he just had an off night. But, you know, for the last couple of months, that team has been, you know, one of the top 5 team. Obviously, it's put himself in the top 5 in the point standings.
Really, the race in Riverhead where he spun running inside the top 5 on the final turn, the final lap, really cost him big. And had that not been a factor, it would have been, I think, a very different championship battle as you look at it today. Now, we still got a long way to go, but I think Austin Beers and that team will look back at that one and say, there was a missed opportunity. Overdrove it down in the turn, contact was made, and it ended up being a situation where they lost a lot of ground. There's Tim Conley, and we've seen the other half of the story now. He's got damage on both ends of the Mystic Missile, and that's a tough break for that team.
Yeah, beautiful race car, too, and kept to the standard of Bob Gabarino for the number of years that he had the Mystic Missile. But yeah, getting back to Austin Beer, finished 17th at Riverhead that night, and to say if he was running inside the top 5, I mean, that's a 40-point swing. and he came in, or 45.
About 10, probably.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking old school
Old
points.
school.
Yeah, I went way old school. 10 points. Good call. But still, I mean, that would put him easily put him in third in point standings coming into tonight's races. So, yeah, every little bit matters. And I remember watching that race now, and I thought to myself, well, there's somebody who is racing for the championship still early in the season. I wonder if that's going to come back to bite him in the in the rear as the year progresses. And I mean, it hasn't yet. We still have a ton of racing to go, but that is definitely in the back of their mind of that missed opportunity from that night. That's something you don't forget for the entire summer. Yeah,
no doubt about it. They have lifted the red flag, and the cars are rolling once again. You saw Tim Conley's modified get pulled back behind pit wall. It's a team that is just out here trying to have a good time. Tim Conley ran races years ago, was a winner in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, stepped away to focus on his businesses and family, and he said, I want to come back one more time and have the opportunity to run here. And he said, I know I'm not going to go out there and necessarily compete for wins and top fives, at least not yet.
Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged, so you can go farther. And so can your money. Tow with confidence. Plus, stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Current qualified Chevy lessees can get this Silverado for around $359 a month. Visit your New England Chevy dealer.
Anyway, right. They're trying to build their program, and that's a tough break for them to have that challenge. So, flag out. We'll run a couple laps into the caution and get to go through everything. You see Brian Narducci there just in front of the race leader, Austin Beers, as he was the last car on the lead lap when the caution flag came out. But this is going to really be interesting here because you have Austin Beers and Ron Silk lining up side by side.
And we come into what we talked about earlier with Ronnie Silk qualifying in 9th and hoping that the race comes to them. It certainly has, as you see him up towards the front, but a completely different beast than we've seen all night. No matter what happens, this will not be a long run. We have under 20 laps to go, much like we did last year at this time. So definitely interesting. We've seen Ronnie Silk in late race situations get extremely aggressive with with drivers that he's battling the championship with, whether it's Justin Bonsignor or Doug Coby. We talk about this many times throughout, we talked about it tonight on the broadcast as well, but throughout other races. Racing with respect and cautiously aggressive, we still feel that there is something boiling that has yet to unfold with those three drivers. You can't run this close. I liken it to going cross country with your best friends in a van. You do it, you love your friends, you start off in Rhode Island or the East Coast, whatever coast you start off on, somewhere around Kansas, they pick you off and you want to throw somebody out of the van and it boils over. I don't care, your bond will change if you drive across country with somebody, and these guys, week in, week out, running so close, something's got to happen.
Well, we're not in Kansas anymore, but we are at the Lancaster Motorplex. It's a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour New Way Auto Parts 150. Austin Beers going for his second win of the season. Will line up alongside a championship point leader and former champion in Ron Silk. Austin Beers said, I've got to be more aggressive on the restarts. I can't give up spots anymore. He did that once tonight to take the lead. Can he do it again against Ronnie Silk as we get down to the final few laps here in Lancaster?
Green flag is out. Silk got the shot from Doug Coby, and they launch into turn number 1, still side by side. Advantage to Austin Beers off of turn number 2.
Beers leads the way. Here comes big money Matt Hirschman, though. This caution might have played into his hand. He works to the inside line and takes over second over Ronnie Silk.
Tommy Samolino down to the inside in car number 54, battling right behind Silk. He'll put Coby and drop kick him back a spot. And then there's Justin Bonsignor is moving up.
Here's Catalano inside lane underneath Coby. Bonsignor trying to fill the gap to the bottom. See if he can close in and follow in the tire tracks.
Look at that, 3 wide down the front straightaway. Something's got to give. It's going to be Salamino sideways. He gathers it back up. So does Bonsignor, and there's dust kicking up in turns 1 and 2.
What a save by Tommy Catalano and everybody with the rest of the field, but Bonsignor hammer down, works to the bottom of turns 3 and 4, and challenges once again. Speaking of challenges, Austin Beers looks in the rearview mirrors and sees the smiling face of Matt Hirschman right there.
And you know it's smiling. He has just waited for this opportunity. With 8 laps to go when they hit the start-finish line this time, right in the tires tracks, it is Matt Hirschman following up to Beers, and Beers up about a half a groove that time in turn number 1. It nearly cost him.
Beers is going to have to make that 64 car wide here in the closing few laps. Within striking distance is Matt Hirschman, runs a little bit lower, almost in the grass off turn number 4. He puts a wheel to the bottom of Austin Beers in turn 1.
And Austin Beers will cut him down, but watch these drivers enter turn number 3. A little bump off of turn number 2, down low. One driver can put his tires to the inside of the white line, and it's not the leader, Austin Beers. It is Matt Hirschman following him back into turn number 1. It's still Beers.
Beers holding on for the moment, but Hirschman, you see the dust off the left front tire using asphalt and even a little bit more here at Lancaster. Into turn 3, Hirschman is there once again.
It's a matter of inches and down, sideways that time. They are just sawing the wheel off of turn number 4, battling for the win back into 1.
Hirschman went over that line just a little bit too far, and he put that left front so far in that the car stepped out sideways. He found where that edge was. Is it enough for him to gain some more ground, though, here with 4 laps to go? Austin Beers out in front.
He's still trying to make up from that bobble 1 lap prior, and had another one in turn number 2 that set him back about 2 car lengths, and now the battle for the lead has subsided just a little bit, but it is not over. 3 laps to go. This race will be over in less than a minute if we stay green.
Hirschman starting to fade. Austin Beers, he's got a comfortable, what it seems like, 2 car length advantage. Hirschman kicking up dust in turn 1, but his car gets sideways.
It's a last-ditch effort for Matt Hirschman. How bad do you want it? Austin Beers off of turn number 4 leads this race with 2 laps to go. The left front tire nearly comes off of 4.
Turning and hammer down on that front straightaway. Backstretch 3, now 4 car lengths the advantage for Austin Beers. He'll look for the white flag this time.
Just has to hit his marks, has the 3 net telling him how to run this final lap, and they go into turn number 1 with lap traffic ahead.
Working to the outside of Melissa Fifield. That allows Hirschman to close in. Turn number 3 for Austin Beers. He's got a healthy advantage now as he comes off turn number 4. And Austin Beers, for the 2nd time this season, wins in the Whelen Modified Tour.
Matt Hirschman comes across in 2nd. Great battle right down to it, and you see the team celebrating. What a moment. First time since Richmond. They go to the win, and they chip off just a little bit in the 2023 championship for the Whelen Modified. And you talk about promotion. You talk about the fan experience. These fans treated to an amazing race tonight. Great pyro display at the very end of this one.
Well executed race by the 64 team of Austin Beers. Started 3rd, worked his way up to the front when it mattered most, took advantage of that pit stop midway through the race to be able to gain the race lead. But I think when you look at what this team has been working on, and Beers said it, he said, I cannot give up spots on restarts. I have to be more aggressive. And he did that twice, once against Bonsignor, once against Ronnie Silk, 2 champions of the series. He took over the race lead. He was aggressive. Him the win here tonight. They played it well.
And then he looks in his rearview mirror and he sees Matt Hirschman. So he beat some of the best here tonight, and he's becoming one of the best. We call it the breakout season, but now it's almost expected to see the 64 of Beers in the top 5 every single week. It's one thing to surprise them. It's another thing to have the expectation of running inside the top 5, and I think we've seen that that change this year with that race car driver in that race car.
So Austin Beers, the winner here tonight. Let's go ahead and take a look at how they finished for the race tonight. Matt Hirschman 2nd, Ronnie Silk ended up 3rd, Justin Bonsfeld, he got that top 5 that he wanted to get. Tommy Catalano, great run for that team, slid back to 6th. Kobe was 7th. Brian Narducci 8th, Kyle Bonsignor and Kyle Ebersol rounding out the top 10. Max McLaughlin, Tyler Ripkema, Anthony Nocella, Tommy Wanek, and Gary McDonald, your top 15. Melissa Fifield, Anthony Cecily, Tim Conley, Ken Hagee, and Mike Leedy was your finishing order here tonight in the New Way Parts 150. There you see Austin Beers, victorious, 2nd time in his career. That win was coming. He joined this team midway through the 2021 season, and he has gained a tremendous amount of ground. And that full 2022 campaign that went winless, now here in 2023, Austin Beers has won in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
This evening in Lancaster, Austin Beers. Win number 2 of the season for Austin Beers and this 64 team. Austin holding on to the lead through that final restart, and then a hard-charging 60 car behind you. What was the key to holding on to it through those final laps?
First off, this is for Nate. You know, he's our crew member. We lost him last month. This is for him, and my mom was here today, and she had to go to the hospital, so, you know, this is for her as well.
A lot of emotion going into this win. What does this mean not only for you, but this entire A-team as a whole?
It means a lot, you know, with this last month, and, you know, with the races we've had since we switched the compounds, we've been struggling a little bit, and, you know, just getting back on track like we were at Richmond, but this team did a hell of a job, a hell of a pit stop. They won me this race.
Austin, you earned this win tonight. Congratulations, Austin.
Thank you.
Battle right down to the wire for the 2023 championship. Now 4 drivers really strong.
Let's hear from some of the other top finishers. Jesse Punch is standing by with Matt Hirschman.
Your second place finisher this evening is Matt Hirschman. Matt, quite a battle there in those closing laps. What more did you need, though, to get it done?
We just were making up for lost ground on the pit stop there. Obviously, to make a better race, you know, we needed a caution. I didn't need a caution, but the race needed a caution. We just gave up a little bit more than I would like to have seen, and we got them all back but one, and just came up short at the end. You know, didn't have enough at the end to make a pass. I was kind of able to pressure a little bit, but with each lap, it was actually he was actually starting to inch away. So I would have had to have been right away, right off the restart, but just didn't get it done tonight. I thank the whole team, PD Motorsports. It's always I enjoy coming here to Lancaster. So I always say this place was made for modifieds, and like I said, it might have been a little boring there during the middle of the race there, but with that caution, and you know, we made a race out of it at the end. I'd like to have come out on top, but we'll have to try again next time.
That's your second place finisher, Matt Hirschman.
Where that pits up when they went from the lead to 6th, cost him a lot of track position, and Hirschman had a car that was fast at the end of that run, not so much at the beginning of the run, at the end of the run, but just ran out of time with Austin Beers driving away.
And one must wonder if he really burned up his tires or used them up a little too much getting to Austin Beers.
Hey, Dad.
You know, you mentioned that his car was there. You saw it fade a little bit towards the end. A couple of car links running short. You know, had he not had to get around those other vehicles, would he have had the grip to get to the lead? Who knows? We have Austin 316 in victory lane here tonight with Austin Beers.
This is one of those deals, right? They've set up the victory lane. This was a stage that they did pre-race ceremonies. Mike Myers, his entire team did such a great job with this event. The pyro, the fireworks, the environment here has been tremendous. And this is part of it. You see him up on stage. There's his dad in the t-shirt with the white sleeves. Eric Beers, so much a part of this, and so much we talked throughout the broadcast of his influence here at this racetrack, and that family modified, and all those laps here, they certainly paid off tonight. Let's go back with third place finisher Jesse Punch.
This evening goes to Ron Silk. Ron, with the championship battle as tight as it is, are you satisfied with your run here this evening?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with it. You know, this isn't one of my favorite racetracks. I struggle a little bit getting around here, but happy to come out here with the podium. Want to thank this great crowd for coming out and supporting the event, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and do it again in front of you guys next year.
That's Ron Silk, your third place finisher this evening at Lancaster.
You mentioned Ronnie Silk. That is, you know, the laser focus that he has this year to say Lancaster is a place that he struggles with and still comes out with a podium. Matt Hirschman, a little dejected for not winning the race. These drivers are so hardcore when it comes to win or second. I don't want to finish second. I just want to win. These guys are all about the W.
And those are the days, and why Ronnie Silk is a veteran he is. It's a racetrack that, hey, isn't their best, but they were able to put together a good run and certainly got that car better as the race goes on. So the celebration continues on for Austin Beers and the entire 64 team. The next time the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is in action, it's to Connecticut, one of the long-time tracks on the circuit. It's the Thompson 150 to be presented by flowsports.com at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park, the traditional Wednesday night Midsummer Classic on August 16th. Hopefully we'll see you there or on live with Flow Racing. It's been an outstanding day today here in Lancaster Motorplex, an outstanding crowd on hand, but there was none better than the 64 of Austin Beers. He was not to be denied tonight as he captured his second Whelen Modified Tour win of the season. Austin Beers on top. He wins at Lancaster.